We're here to interview Mitch and Jen from Willarra Gold, and you can see their beautiful property up here. Mitch and Jen are very well-known regenerative farmers in this area in Manjimup, and yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to them. Tell us a bit about, what your farming operations, what do you have here? Tell us about the region, what do you do?
Yeah, we're third generation farmer here. I work with my parents and my sister Lauren, and my partner Jennifer has also come back. And we're starting to do a few things of our own now, hence the passion fruit. We're in the Southern Forest region, so Manjimup, most people are familiar with, and we've got a long sort of history of vegetable production on this farm. This region is well known for apples, cauliflower, potatoes, and now other things like wine and truffles and avocados are very big in this region. And we're seeing a lot more young people and a lot more diverse groups of people come back to our region, which is fantastic. So my parents have had a bit of a biological approach to farming for at least 30 years. And what that has meant that they've sort of looked at our farm as a bit more of a whole system. So my parents did certain things back in the day, like planting a lot of trees, which we are the benefit of that, having all those trees now. So most of what you can see they have planted. And so we get a lot of windbreaks and protection for stock. Also the increased bird life and that type of biodiversity.
You said biological farming.
Yeah.
But, the term now that's being bandied around is regenerative agriculture. So
Yeah.
I guess, firstly, what's the difference, biological and regenerative? Do you identify as regenerative or biological? You've identified your parents as biological. So tell us a bit more about that.
Biological is kind of like, it's kind of the step before regenerative, I guess. So it was based on the information that was present at the time, in that you want to feed the soil to feed your plants.
Yep.
So basically biological means we focus on biology. So things like bacteria, fungi, nematodes, all those types of things that live in the soil, those are the things that will feed the roots in your plants. And they're vital if you want to have a healthy plant and if you want to have a healthy ecosystem as well. You have to start from the soil as a baseline and build up. So biological is still very relevant today and still very important, and regenerative basically takes a lot of its practices from biological. It takes practices from permaculture, organics, and biodynamics.
Yep.
So I really love regenerative in the fact that it can take components of most, but it doesn't have to be a single type of practice to determine that you are regenerative. So it's basically about improving a system that you currently have. So if you have a baseline of 3% organic carbon in your soil and you increase it to 5%, that's regenerative. To me, that's what it is. So it's about increasing and improving. Biological, organics, all those other things, you can be all those things, but you don't necessarily have to regenerate, although where they originated from generally meant that you were trying to improve. So you were trying to replant plants, you were using cover crops, and you were trying to focus on the health of your soil.
Your products. So let's talk about your passion fruit products. My project is about what consumers think about regenerative agriculture and what the incentives are. So do you market your products as regeneratively produced? Do customers see you? How do they think of you as a regenerative farmer?
So we haven't really focused on regenerative as a marketing term a lot. I guess it just comes down to your ideology a bit. So our fresh product, passion fruit, certainly, like I'd call that regeneratively grown, because the way in which we've done it is benefiting like our environment, is benefiting the soil, and it's also benefiting us, which means that we can put more of an emphasis back on other projects, and we can spend money on planting more trees, and buying better quality products or organic products, buy better quality composts and things. So the fresh stuff, definitely. Only just recently we've sort of not so much saying that these products are necessarily regenerative, but we're trying to align ourselves with, I guess, distributors or sellers of these products who have a similar philosophy. So a great example is Dirty Clean Food. So I've been following them for a while, and I guess trying to work out how they were trying to sell consistently and having continuity of supply to consumers of regeneratively grown products when there are, as you know, probably a limited amount of regen farmers. So I know they are working on that. So we've started selling them this because it's practical for us to sell it. We can sell this 12 months of the year. Whereas our fresh product is not available 12 months of the year.
The difficulty also when you say with a relationship with the consumer, it's very difficult for a farmer to form a relationship with their direct consumer. So our customer essentially is, the closest you can get is probably a retailer, and so they seek out growers or products that they'll be looking for specific values. But before things like Instagram, it would have been very, very difficult to engage directly with the consumer. Social media has certainly opened that up, but if someone says, I want to buy your passion fruit and I live in Perth, it's very difficult to say, all right, you can definitely know that our passion fruit is going to be in this shop on this date at this time, because it goes into a commodity sort of a market, and the 12-month continuity of supply is the issue.
It's a very important one.
As growers, you tend to be communicating with other businesses. We tend to be business to business rather than straight business to consumer. But things like social media as well as agritourism do allow for that link to form directly to customers, but it's something that's only formed recently. So that's also a challenge when a grower has got a philosophy that is, customers are strongly looking for or linking to, but it's very difficult to identify that product once it gets into the market.
Customers a bit. We don't have an online shop or anything yet, so we don't necessarily get direct sales to those customers. But we can tell our story a bit more, and we get engagement, which is good. We actually get most of our business through Instagram, which is interesting. So you're starting to see younger companies come through who like that there are other young people doing things and that they're having a go, and they also want to deal face to face with the people who are growing the products. So one great example is Funk Cider. So they're actually farmers themselves, but they've got a cider. They make whole lots of different ciders, and they try and source as much as local as possible. And I'm not sure, but we might be one of their first regenerative farmers. And they themselves try and use regenerative practices on. They've got a small vineyard, so they're trying to increment these things within their business as well. So they've got their own philosophy, and they're quite happy to pay, I guess, a premium for something that is a premium. So that's what we find really encouraging, looking for people who are already looking for better quality products.
So why did you go into regenerative then?
It just makes more sense. It's also not necessarily about getting paid a premium for your product, because everyone should get access to good, healthy, quality food. So we're not just talking about well-grown food. We're talking about nutritionally dense, flavoursome, good quality. Something that you would probably compare to like a home gardener type thing, not commercialised, big scale type production. So the beauty of it is that regenerative, although it takes 3 to 4 years or even 5 years to see your practices pay off, over time your inputs, which in turn are your cost of production, should slowly come down. So your sale price remains the same over those 3 to 4 years, but your input costs go down, you in turn get a premium. So, and if you can find people who prefer your products and they're willing to pay you a bit extra, you gain that as well. So kind of like organics, where become accredited and people are willing to pay more for it. Whereas this is also about being far more efficient with the products you use or your inputs, i.e. fertilisers or composts or cover crops, so that you can spend less over time.
Yeah.
So that's the other benefit. And the biggest benefit is that we're custodians of a large piece of land essentially. We have an obligation to improve it, not just for ourselves, but for the betterment of the next people who take it on. My dad's always said that, you should leave it better than you found it. And that's not just, making it look nice, that's making sure that it's sustainable in future years. I mean, it's going to be able to sustain future businesses and future industries. So to do that, you need to improve it. If we continue down like an extractive path where we always remove nutrition or the soil health, you're not going to have any land to farm in the same way anymore. And that's going to devalue your land. It's going to make the next generation less likely to want to come back. I could go on this all day, but...
Well, we found, on the topic of inputs as well, was a lot of the products, from day one when I came onto the property, looking at the difference in ethos, your dad's always cared about what's going onto the soil. So if a crop is requiring really harsh treatments, harsh inputs and things like that, you need to consider, is there a way that you can grow this differently, or is this a crop that we're not going to grow? Which can be, a very difficult decision. But once you go down the regen journey, it sort of increases curiosity about how all these processes work, and with that curiosity, you can produce your own inputs. You've had a much better link and understanding of how those systems have worked, and a better understanding of, once you put something on the soil, how it's working and what it's doing. You'd hope that those inputs are lower cost, but you also want it to be softer and gentler and lower impact.
A lot of big food companies, we started off with General Mills, then you've got Nestle and PepsiCo, all making commitments to regenerative agriculture. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, these are massive companies.
Yeah.
Are they going to help hinder the mainstreaming of regenerative agriculture practices here?
It really will depend, because I've said before, and I believe it's a grassroots movement. And that means it's determined by the farmers themselves whether their practices are good or not. And I prefer that because you actually have to have your own philosophy, you have to have your own insight, and you have to sit down and talk to farmers, you have to read books to figure out how to do it. And you need to know how to farm. So if people determine what regenerative ag is and they don't understand how to farm, how will they tell me then what I'm doing is correct or not? Because if it works for someone in another country, a particular practice, it's probably not going to work for me. So I think we are getting better at communicating these types of things, and that I think it still should remain broad. But I think that big companies are getting on board because they know it's coming. They see the changes coming, and they also know that they need to make commitments for the environment. They need to know that the products they're getting are not detrimental to the environment, because there's either going to be environmental taxes or carbon tax, or these things, they're not just talked about, they're actually going to happen. And you're also going to have to advertise, all right, how much energy did this take to produce this, this one broccoli or head of broccoli? Or did this help regenerate the soil? Or, you're going to have to advertise those things. And people, although it may not be for everyone, people are going to shift their buying capacity to where companies are going. They're going to trust better companies. Saw a really good presentation by Mike Lee. And he said people's BS meter are so fine-tuned now because they're so used to being advertised to. They know when something is being genuine, they know when something is false. So I think that's why yeah, these bigger companies are heading there because that's where consumers want it to go. People are desperate to find things that are not going to kill the environment. They want to, they don't, they want to continue consuming, but they want to do it in an ethical and sustainable way.
Mitch's and Jan's passion for their land really shines through their regenerative practices. No BS here. Thank you both for sharing your inspirational story, which I hope has resonated with the people who are watching. Your curiosity and thirst for knowledge to continually do things better is really refreshing, like your passion fruit cordial. For more information about Willarra Gold, go to their Facebook page or their Instagram page that you can see here. And their passion fruit pulp is also currently being sold through Dirty Clean Foods website. I've also included here information about my Churchill Fellowship. Thank you for watching, everyone.